Hey everyone, welcome to the What is Money show. I'm sitting down today with Mr. Neil Passero. Neil, welcome to the show.
Hey, Robert. Great to be here.
Great to have you, man. We were just talking offline how you put together a very robust outline for us to start exploring money as a conversation and a little bit about how we live in relation to money, or who am I in relation to money, as you put it. So maybe we just open with a question there. Who am I in relation to money? What does that question mean to you?
Well, money is language.
Mm-hmm.
Money is defined by words, and money has meaning out there in the world. But for me and for us, money is related to the language we're using about it. Conversations with ourselves, conversations with each other about what it is, how we use it, what it means, especially from our past. We're human beings, and humans are historical beings. And so our past and our relationship to what has happened with money in the past may very well be our future, especially if we don't consider the language that we're using around that topic. So really what I'd like to offer is that we create a future in relationship to money in terms of the language that we use.
Yeah, interesting. I like, it's been called the language of value by a lot of great thinkers. And I've explored a bit of this in my writing, with this connection between the logos, which is a very ancient idea. If you translate the logos from Greek, it means word or ratio. So the connection I was trying to tease out were in words, like typically they have meaning relative to each other, right? It's the context and the grammar in which we're using these tools, these psychotechnologies to communicate. But with money, its main feature, I guess, is the communication of prices. And prices are those two, in the same way that words have a ratio of meaning. Prices are just conveying an exchange ratio, basically denominated in this universal language of money. And then I think you've actually taken it a step further when you're saying the conversations are also with ourselves, which is true, because we're planning in money, we're thinking in money, it's like a mental software we're using to deal with the world in many ways. So where this idea, this is kind of complicated to say, this idea that money is not an idea, it's more of something that arises in conversation, right? It's like an emergent property of two actors interacting. Where does that come from? Is this a philosophical idea, or maybe you could just expound upon that a little bit?
Sure. So money exists out there in the world, right? We've got money that has all sorts of forms, physical forms. The thoughts about money are an internal experience. Now, in between that are commonly two people, or the market having a conversation to identify prices. So you can look at the marketplace as people making offers and requests that help to sort out, especially over time and with large numbers of transactions, you start to get a picture of what is real out there in the market. So for ourselves internally, the idea is, language that we use helps to create our reality. These are philosophical concepts. There's thousands of years worth of history of philosophy, of people trying to sort out, what is it to be human? Some people label this as existentialism. There's ontological thought, and there's a whole variety of philosophers that have put these ideas together. And I think it's worth considering how these ideas help us to paint a picture of our relationship to money, especially in the idea that money is a conversation about the future. And if we let the past color that conversation, it's very, very different than if we're inventing something from a place now about the future.
Mm. That's interesting. I wondered too, if money is a language, it's a communication tool. Clearly the tool that's closer to truth would be more useful, because if you're communicating, I think the purpose of communication is largely typically to communicate the truth. So you can coordinate with other people, right? You can take information you may have gathered through sensorial experience and actually connect that to someone else, such that you could then coordinate your actions together, right? It's effectively what a market is doing. So how do you think then, if money is a conversation, how does the type of money we are using influence the nature of that conversation?
It's a good question. I think culturally, different folks use different types of currencies. Years ago, I learned that the Zapatista tribe in Mexico came on the radar in the 90s. And I was really intrigued by first of all, their use of technology to spread their message that they were communicating. Outside of the politics, though, what I learned was that their relationship to work was to create time. Community was really a primary asset for that group, being together. So really, the wages were not the wages I knew. The wages were to have more time to hang out, and that really influenced how I think about what work is and why I work. And has really strongly influenced my own personal thinking about how I engage with my labor and skills in the marketplace. So I'd say the short answer is money is very cultural, and it's very personal.
Mm. Yeah, maybe this explains to kind of the feedback it has into culture itself. There's a long literature of Austrian economics exploring this concept of when fiat, it doesn't have to be fiat, when money starts to be inflated very rapidly, the population suffering under that inflation tends to experience moral degradation.